Quick question. Do you actually know how much your fully loaded travel trailer weighs right now? That's all the gear, the bikes on the rack, all the water you might be carrying. I mean, the real number. If you hesitated, you're in good company. Most RVers have never found out. And this month, we learned that in some cases, even the sticker itself can't be trusted. I'm Blaine, and today we're talking about why the weight rating printed right there on your travel trailer's label might not be telling you the truth. Welcome back to the Safe RVing channel. In the last 2 weeks, we've seen a cluster of recalls that all point at the same failure category: incorrect weight information on the federal certification label. Ember recreational vehicles on certain 2026 E-Series and Overland Series travel trailers, and Winnebago Towable on certain 2026 Access travel trailers. Different companies, different models, same underlying problem. The number that's supposed to tell you how much you can safely load is wrong. That's not a paperwork issue. That label is the one piece of information most owners actually rely on to know whether they're safe to tow. When it's wrong, people who are doing everything right could still end up overloaded without even knowing it. So let's break down what happened, what the numbers actually mean, and how you find the truth yourself instead of trusting the sticker. Okay, 2 recalls are at the center of this episode. Ember Recreational Vehicles is recalling certain 2026 E-Series and Overland Series travel trailers because the unloaded vehicle weight and cargo carrying capacity figures on the federal certification label are incorrect. Winnebago is recalling certain 2026 Access travel trailers because the gross axle weight rating, that's a little different, may not be listed on the certification label at all. Here's why these are different from a cosmetic labeling error. If your cargo carrying capacity is overstated, you think you have more room to pack than you actually do. Coolers, water, gear, passengers, and all of your passengers' things, and you load up right to a number that's already past what the trailer's engineered for. If your gross axle weight rating is missing or wrong, you have no reliable way to know whether your axles are being asked to carry more than they're rated for. And axle failures at highway speed, that's not good. The fix in both cases is a corrected label, sometimes free, sometimes requiring a dealer visit. But the fix doesn't undo the trips you've already taken not knowing your real numbers. And that is something worth thinking about for a moment. There are a lot of acronyms related to this topic, and if you've never fully sorted out what these acronyms mean, you're not alone. And honestly, the industry hasn't made it any easier. So let's fix that in under 2 minutes. UVW, unloaded vehicle weight. What the trailer weighs as it left the factory. No gear, no full water tank, no propane in many cases. I would never assume that's even with propane attached to the actual unit. This is the number manufacturers love to advertise, and it's the number your actual trailer will never weigh because you don't tow it empty. So this number looks great on the website, on flyers, online as well. And remember, this is the weight as it left the factory. Now, let's go with triple C or C3 or cargo carrying capacity, CCC, cargo carrying capacity. The maximum weight of everything you add: food, tools, clothes, bikes, water, propane if it's not already counted. Again, I always assume it's not. but even passengers, if it's a category that allows them. But remember, passengers are going to come into play in another area, especially when we're talking about fifth wheels and travel trailers. Okay, so the cargo carrying capacity, that is the number that the Ember recall got wrong. So you could be overloading with your gear, okay? The GAWR, gross axle weight rating, that's how much weight each axle is engineered to carry. This is the number the Winnebago recall completely left off the label. I mean, it wasn't even on there, so you have no idea. The GVWR, gross vehicle weight rating, that's the maximum total weight of the loaded trailer. That's UVW plus everything you've added. This is the ceiling. This is it, the max. If you go over it, you're overloaded regardless of what any individual number says. Put simply, the UVW is what it weighs empty. CCC is how much you're allowed to add. And GAWR is what each axle can handle. And GVWR is the hard ceiling for the whole rig. When any of those numbers on your label is wrong, your entire mental math for am I safe to load this is wrong as well. And you have no way of knowing it under these recent recalls. Okay, so here's the number that should stop you mid-sip of coffee in the morning before you take off. When RVs actually get weighed, 56% come back overweight. And that climbs to roughly 60% when you isolate tow vehicles specifically. More than 6 in 10 rigs are overweight on at least one parameter, sometimes on all of them at once. And that's assuming the label they're loading against is even correct. Overloading isn't an abstract compliance issue. It's a direct line to the crashes we've covered on a previous episode. Tire blowouts tied to overloading cause more than 70,000 accidents every year nationwide. And an overloaded, underinflated tire is the single most common cause of a rapid blowout. Beyond tires, exceeding your GAWR stresses the axle bearings and the suspension components. It degrades braking performance and is one of the leading contributors to trailer sway, which is exactly the failure chain behind a lot of the highway RV crashes that I always talk about, and we're going to be covering them more often going forward. So, when a manufacturer ships a trailer with the wrong CCC or a missing GAWR, they're not just handing you inaccurate paperwork. They're handing you a false sense of margin on the exact numbers that determine whether you stop in time, stay in your lane through a crosswind, or keep your axle attached to the trailer. Here's the good news. You don't have to trust the label. You don't have to guess. CAT Scale operates more than 2,200 truck scales across the US and Canada, and every one of them will weigh an RV. In a single pass, a CAT scale can check your GVWR, GAWR, GCWR, payload, and tongue weight. Here's the practical version. Pull onto a scale, fully loaded, exactly as you'd tow it on a real trip. Full water, full propane, all your gear packed, bikes on. Get a total weight, then a per axle breakdown. Compare those numbers against your actual label, not the marketing brochure. If you want to go further, four corner or wheel position weighing at specialty scales will catch something a standard CAT scale can't. That's side-to-side imbalance. You could be within your GAWR overall and still have one tire carrying dangerously more than its partner on the same axle. And a standard scale pass won't show you that. Here's the problem. You have to get to the scale. So you have to load up completely, drive down some stretch or stretches of roads to get to that scale. What if you don't have a CAT scale available nearby? What if you have to travel a couple of hours on the highway to get there? This is why all of this advice sounds great on paper, but in practical terms, it's not really going to work for you. The best solution, honestly, and you're going to probably laugh, but if you're serious about this, is that you would weigh all of the items that you plan on throwing into your RV, your travel trailer. Yeah, get a scale, start dropping stuff on it. You can buy a heavyweight scale on Amazon. They're pretty cheap, actually. You put it out on the driveway, zero it out, and you can put large items on there, totes, things like that, and you can weigh that. It's super simple. And then you can start adding up. You can get pretty darn close. Hey, look, it's better than just not doing any kind of work whatsoever. Just say, hey, these are all the things I want to pack in there and I want to take with me. And so I'm just going to go ahead and load it all in there. Go, sky's the limit. And then I'll stop at the first scale. What happens if you're overweight? Well, what are you going to do? Leave stuff at the truck stop at the scale? No. So that's why that practical advice makes sense. Hey, use a CAT scale. But it's not realistic because, like I said, what are you going to do? So that's my recommendation. I would say you have a standard set of kit that you have on every trip, okay? And now I'm talking like gear. You want the folding hammock. You want the pop-up canopy. You've got your Starlink. You have your tools. You have your outdoor rug. You've got the same number of folding chairs that you put in there. All of this stuff that you typically would carry. Weigh all of that, and that is pretty much your starting point from then on out with your camper. That's what we have. I have stuff that just never leaves the camper. It's just always in there. The chairs, the dog bed, we have little fold-out dog beds, outdoor dog beds, all of those things. The Starlink. I have a 12, this is crazy, but it comes in handy. I have a 12-person tent cabin. It's like a really quick pop-up type, but it's a 12-person cabin-style tent. It's perfect to sit outside. We can actually move the picnic table at a campground into it and zip it up. Keeps the bugs and everything out of there when we're sitting in there because you don't have to put the fly over the cabin tent. It's all vented. So it's really a perfect tent to carry. But the thing weighs like 40 pounds all packed up, right? Well, that's got to go in there. So there are things that I leave in the camper that never come out of the camper after we take trips. It stays in there in the winter too, by the way. All right. So have your starting point and estimate what all of that weighs. And you don't have to estimate. You can get pretty darn close. I've weighed all of these things. I know how much the Starlink weighs. I know how much that canopy weighs. I know how much each folding chair weighs. I know how much a 5-gallon jug of water, and we take 3 under the sink. We've plumbed a battery-operated dispenser. We want safe drinking water. I know how much each of those weigh. And so therefore, if I'm only taking 1 for an overnight trip, I know how much lighter I am. This is the way to do this. This is the only way and I know you're going to roll your eyes if you're a new RVer and you're like, oh my God, I didn't sign up for all of this. Yeah, you did. Yes, you did. Because not only is your family sitting in that car hauling down the road at 65, well, let's be honest, I just got back from a trip and I was getting past, they had to have been doing 75, a travel trailer. Yeah, it's crazy. So not only is your family potentially at risk, mine is too. Think about that. All right. So this is the one thing, and I mentioned in another video, the tongue weight. Specifically, your tongue weight. That's the other thing people don't think about is as I overload this trailer, that has to sit on my tow vehicle. I have a limit on how much weight you can drop on the bumper. So you have to consider that as well. You have your tow vehicle and all of your total combined weight actually has to take into consideration all the stuff you're throwing in the car. Oh, I'm not going to put this in the camper. I'm going to throw it in the back of the SUV or the back of the truck. Okay. You have a cargo carrying capacity for your truck too, but your total weight of the tow vehicle and the RV, all of that has to be considered. And that includes all the passengers sitting in there, okay, sitting in the car. Don't trust the sticker blindly in 2026. Mislabeled CCC and missing GAWR figures are showing up in the current model year recalls. Check your VIN against the manufacturer's recall list, even if you haven't gotten a letter. Knowing your four numbers, UVW, CCC, GAWR, and GVWR, and understand that GVWR is your hard ceiling, regardless of what any single component number says. Get your rig weighed fully, occasionally when you can, at a CAT scale. Again, do your weighing exercise as I recommend before you go. It's not going to be a bad thing to go to the CAT scale afterwards, right? Do it. But you can really get close by weighing everything and adding to that initial weight rating empty. And remember, don't forget your propane. Full propane tanks. If you carry two of them, assume the weight of both of them. Also, I know it's going to sound silly, but I swapped my 12-volt, the little marine battery. That thing was gone. I went with an AGM, 100 milliamp hour, like it's bigger. Wait a little bit more. You have to consider that stuff too. All right. So know those four numbers. Get your rig fully weighed, and definitely go through the weighing exercise yourself. Don't trust the sticker blindly. Verify. All right. So again, the label on your trailer is supposed to be the one number you don't have to think twice about. Right now, or for some 2026 owners, it's wrong. And the only way to know your real safety margin is to verify it yourself. Look, it's not paranoia. It's good practice. The same way we'd tell any worker in a warehouse to check a load rating on their forklift before picking up a pallet. You just got to have the right tool for the job, okay? And so if you've got a lot of stuff to haul and you don't have enough weight rating, you might be having to look at maybe getting a new rig, something to think about. All righty, so make that your top priority going out. Go through the weighing exercise, pull out everything, dishes, cups. I know it sounds silly. It's fun to do. Make it a fun activity with the kids, weighing stuff. If you have a couples trailer, you and your partner just maybe go through this exercise that first time. Again, hit that baseline. And then as you start adding things, clothing or whatever, it's real simple. Put clothing in a bag. We use an IKEA bag, the big blue IKEA bag. I'll just put all my clothing in there. I could put it on a scale and I can weigh it. All right. I've done that a couple of times, but once you get used to it, you kind of know what you're taking with you. So the next time you travel smart and travel safe. And we'll talk to you on the next episode.